I'm Rufus Pollock from the Open Knowledge Foundation, and we're delighted to have such a kind of great bunch of people here today, and many thanks particularly for those who've come from a distance away. And also thanks, of course, to the sponsors who have made it possible. I mean, there's a bunch of people, you can see a lot of people have contributed to making this possible, and particularly supporting some travel bursaries so people could travel here. Now, you know, I think the thing that we all know, things are really moving in this space. I hardly need to tell you guys who are here today that there's been pioneering work here in the UK, in the US, and dozens of other countries have now launched initiatives on open government data. And dozens more have things on the boil, stuff developing. I know there are a whole bunch of countries around the EU which are already moving to open up data or have opened up data. And hundreds of developers, I think this is the biggest thing, hundreds of developers have developed hundreds, if not thousands, of web applications using open government data. And projects like Gapminder are enabling us to gain new insights into everything from the development trends for flu pandemics, and the pioneering work of They Work For You and allows us to kind of follow anything in Parliament. I think the other thing that interests me a lot is the way that projects using data can help deliver behavioral change as well. So it's not just about some service, but also about allowing us to understand our environment better and make decisions better. And projects built using open government data are already allowing us to do some pretty amazing, useful things. I mean, this is a very simple one, but allow me to plot cycle routes from one place to another very easily. I'm in one place, even today, in fact, I managed to give my cab driver directions, which is a rare thing, and partly because I cycle around London. And you know, the other place, things like finding somewhere to live. This is Map Your Mental, a great project from My Society, showing you where you can live, both where you can travel from and where you can affordably live together, or putting together different data sets. I think that also shows one of the really key things I think is, as we kind of move forward, is moving from kind of one data set apps to these kind of multi-data set apps. Still one of the challenges I know the team who did this is getting different data sets, getting them together and doing the kind of computation that's necessary. Another one that absolutely fascinates me is farm subsidy. I think Jack Thurston may be here or tomorrow, today or tomorrow, and this is a fascinating application that allows you to see where the incredible farm subsidies that are here in the UK and the EU and obviously many other developed countries go. Where do they end up? Who do they get paid to? And in fact, as Jack actually at the moment will slightly bemoan a recent ECJ decision that makes it harder to build this kind of application. Certainly one of the extraordinary things, if you go to farmsubsidy.org, is exactly who receives that money. It always shocks me that Nestle is the single biggest recipient, I think, of farm subsidies in the EU. And then a project that we've been building, in fact, is Where Does My Money Go? A project that lets you see where does your tax money go if you pay taxes. It's not always the case, but if you do, for whatever reasons, pay taxes, you can see where your money is going. You can, and for me, one thing to emphasize here is, while partly that can be about transparency, it's also, I feel, about kind of ownership. It's about feeling part of the society that you live in. Taxes are often seen as a bad thing, but in many ways they're a good thing, right? They help partly, I think, build this building, but they also help make sure the roads are there, that there aren't too many potholes, that there are street lighting, that rubbish is collected. There's some pretty extraordinary things that come out of paying our taxes, and remembering that is important. And at the same time, so it's amazing what we're doing, but at the same time, we here at the Foundation have a slogan to stop ourselves getting carried away by the extraordinary number of amazing applications we build, which is, ideas are cheap, but implementation is costly. While it's easy to come up with really fascinating ideas, the hard part is often building them. Scaling them and building them really well, and building them in a sustainable way, and plugging them into an ecosystem that's going to function going forward. So the word of open government data, though, is powered by good ideas. They're key to what's driving us forward here. And all of the amazing projects that you see, including Where Does My Money Go, Map Your Mental, Cycle Maps, and many more. I just yesterday saw one about Montreal health inspections of restaurants that they've been scraping data from and putting up. They start as an idea, so they get excited, make things happen, I think, as the slogan goes. So, one of the questions I have is, when I'm asking myself this, wouldn't it be cool if I could get an email every time someone is going to build something new in my area that I live in? Oh, that's been built, thank you. Or every time my parliamentary representative says stuff about something I'm interested in, wouldn't it be cool if every time I saw a newspaper story, I could have it linked to whatever press release or newswire story it was perhaps built on, let's say. Particularly press releases, I'd be fascinated. You'd be fascinated to see the flow of information from be it corporate or government into actual news stories. Wouldn't it be cool if I could use my mobile phone to plot a journey to the second between any two locations in Europe using only land-based public transport? This is a long dream of mine. Whenever I go to foreign countries, sometimes I almost think that National Rail Inquiries in the UK website is good, which is saying something. So I don't know, probably people here, I don't know if they've used it, but it isn't the most amazing web application. Or it certainly it tends to fall over every time there's high traffic. So what's next though? So two things I think that particularly when we put this event together, we wanted to do, obviously the main reason is everyone to meet each other. I mean, that's the major reason. You don't come to listen to me, you don't even come to listen or see other fascinating presentations, you come to talk and make maybe friendships, like collaborations or partnerships. That's the most important thing I think events like this do. The weird thing is no one will turn up just to do that. There have to be some talks to persuade people to come along. But the two things I would really like to focus on are basic kind of standards for this, for the open government data, and I think open data more generally. One is, what do we mean by open? What do I mean when I say open data? So, I think one thing, key thing there is using an open license and knowing what exactly I mean by an open license. So we actually wrote something called Open Definition, opendefinition.org, and it essentially says, open means anyone is free to use, reuse, and redistribute that material. So no non-commercial restrictions, no restrictions because you might come from the US or because you might come from Yemen or you might come from Japan or wherever. No, anyone can do this. The only things you can really ask for are attribution, or you can ask people to share back. Those are the two restrictions you can put on that material. So why, just to say very quickly, why is that so important? Some of you may have heard me talk about this before, but the key reason that's so important is that open data and open government data is about reuse, and it's about putting different data sets together to build amazing applications or other amazing data sets, but that's what we're doing. We're not just taking individual data sets, we're putting them together. We are taking Lego building blocks and building a house. And to do that, we need to be able to put data together very easily. Now, there are a whole bunch of things that can make that hard, from to technological, to the social, to the legal. But the legal is a bit of a showstopper. If you have to go out and every time you want to put data together, you have to worry about what the licenses are and go and negotiate with people and work out what the licenses are compatible, it's just a killer. Because also it's really boring. Whereas coders or people building stuff don't mind playing around with applications because it's kind of more fun. Doing the legal stuff is really boring. And really not a lot of fun and really difficult, and kind of somewhat dangerous in a way. If, bad stuff can happen to you. You can pull this effort in and find out that you're not actually allowed to do what you're doing. So the key point about this is it's about interoperability. It's not about having some war about words, it's about interoperability. It's about knowing that when I get a data set that said that it's open, I get another one that's open, I can put them together. And that's key to us doing what we want to do with this material. So the next thing I think that is key for me, just to say, I think, it's about traffic lights in that sense, knowing that you can go, that there's a green light. But the other big thing is raw machine readable. So the two things are, one, open, put it under an open license, but obviously put it under an open license and, I don't know, put it out in obscured PDF or scans of PDFs. Of original image documents. And the point here, of course, is also we want to do things with this data. We want it to be machine readable because the way we do things with data is using machines. We also use our own intelligence, we write things on pieces of paper, we do all kinds of things, we don't talk to people, but we do a lot of stuff with machines. And that means we want to make it easy to do things with machines, and that means very simply machine readable. I pretty much imagine that everywhere here in the room has an idea what I mean by machine readable. I'm not going to ask anyone to put their hand up if they don't. So, it doesn't really work, right? And just to say, actually, just one thing also on open that I can do, because it's always good to have a little bit of interactivity. Who here thinks that if I say my stuff is Creative Commons licensed, it's open?
Yes.
Right, so that's the key question to ask yourself. There's a really good point, which is to say, licenses, some Creative Commons licenses open, some are not. I just give as an example, going back to the openness, about interoperability. I mean, Creative Commons is an amazing project. The slight irony at the moment, at least, is that the set of licenses don't form a commons. That's going back to interoperability. Some of those licenses do, they're fantastic. You can plug them, you can take material under one license, put under another, but not all of them. So just there in that kind of question, openness isn't completely trivial. It's not just saying, hey, my stuff is CC licensed. Which CC license, for example? So it depends. Okay, so lastly, so on the raw machine readable, we all kind of have an imagine, I think, the basic level, CSV, JSON, if you're really getting fancy, we can have RDF or whatever, but not PDF. I guess that's really the slogan of the raw thing is, not PDF, and if possible, I guess also not some obscure language. I mean, I know people who do neuroimaging a lot. I live in Cambridge, I knew people who do a lot of fMRI, and it's unbelievable, the people who supply, the machines are very expensive, right, to scan your head. And there's some theory of standard for the data they output, but they all go and implement it a little bit differently, and apparently it's a huge amount of work to go to each manufacturer's kind of spec, or even like reverse engineer off the data sets what the data is. So even there, it's in a binary format that's supposed to be read, but it's actually pretty difficult. So machine readable, I also kind of feel open formats, if possible, formats that well-known spec for that are widely implemented. Don't make up your own new format if possible. So, okay, so, and that was something that I actually started, I wrote a post, give us the data raw, give it to us now, which I think is a slogan we can go on saying. It's also a point, by the way, about machine readability is, don't, if necessary, build your website first. Often people get an amazing amount of data and then put it behind a search box on a web app. Which, it's great you've built a website, but that's not machine readability. So I need to re-scrape it now for your website. And I know there are people here actually, Scrape a Wiki, who help you do that. So one of the things we're going to be doing, in fact, in the next few days, is we've put up a site, Raw Data Now, it's donated by Tom Heath, and we're going to be collecting examples of that kind of Raw Data Now meme, of examples of people putting out raw data, places where maybe it isn't yet raw. So visit rawdatanow.com and help us gather some examples over the next couple of days. Okay, so the big thing is, what happens when you've got your open data? Fantastic, you've got a bunch of open data, what are we going to do with it? And I think the main challenge there is making it easy to find and reuse. I mean, obviously building applications, building things with it, but also making that material easy to find and reuse. You can have a whole bunch of open data around, right? It's like the Zen story, but if no one knows about it, does it exist? It's the tree who falls in the forest. If no one's around to hear it, does it actually happen? It's true of data as well. So making it easy to find, easy to reuse is key. And obviously, one of the basic ways we've seen doing that is through catalogs. I know data.gov in the US having a great thing leading the way. In the UK, data.gov, we've helped, the OKF has actually helped contribute to. CCAN, I don't know if people can see there, I like to think of slightly in this regard, started in 2007, which is kind of community-based. Now has over 1,500 packages, often data in Germany, data.gc.ca in Canada, which is really amazing. I know David has been heavily involved in. So get the data out there and make it easy to reuse. So, well, okay, but finally, I guess then, what I want to come to is, you've got that material out there, you've got to listen to people. I mean, I think one of the things, particularly for governments, this is my message, and I occasionally help advise the government, is listen to people. One of the ironies of making data open, which normally means free, right, is that we lose some amount of information. Because we lose information, for example, about who pays for data. What data is valuable, how much you can charge for it. You lose some degree of contact. You might have had customers, maybe however poorly served, occasionally, but you lose some of that context of one, and also at the same time, what's so key about open communities, and being open isn't just about the material, it's also perhaps about the community and what you build around it. That's about listening to people, it's about listening to developers, it's about listening, if possible, to citizens, though not every citizen is going to go and get 3 gigabytes of CSV data and do something with it. It depends who your customers are, but you've got to listen to them. What data is useful? What do people want more of? Maybe explaining to people what data is really hard to give out, so people don't get frustrated. Because there's a load of data people often want, but maybe it's really difficult for whatever reason. Maybe accidentally the government signed away all the rights to that data 20 years ago. Whatever the reason is, it's really important to communicate, and it's really important to listen. And obviously it's true of governments, also true of the community, and it's true of me and you, and it's very important for us to listen to what's happening. Anyway, I think basically I'm wrapping up there. The really good feeling, I think, is this is just the beginning. I think it's going to be amazing what we see over the next decade. We've been around now, the OKF, for 6 years doing this kind of stuff, and I think the next 6 years, the next decade is going to be really, really exciting in this area. And I hope there will be many more of these camps to come if they prove interesting and successful and fun. That's the key word: fun, enjoyable, and we do cool stuff. But thank you very much, and I'll hand over to David to take over. Thank you very much.